We've got a big weekend coming up and a big week next week. A couple events we're going to showcase tonight.
The Dan Yorke State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
Welcome in. It's been a tough week for America, and there's a special poignance, I think, that goes along with what's happening this weekend here in Providence. We're going to talk about that coming up momentarily with Mr. Let me get it straight. It is Mr. Gay Rhode Island 2016. What's that?
Get a gay, that's great.
That's a good start to the show. You'll hear what he said in a second. You're going to meet Joe momentarily. And by the way, the Northeast Amateur, which is such an incredible event, is next weekend. And it's free. And if you're a golf nut, you should be out there trailing these guys who might be some of the folks you'd see in the U.S. Open, which is, by the way, getting off with a rocky weather start this weekend. So nice to have you aboard. Let's hurry into the rundown real quick and just make a couple of notes as to what's happening. Yeah, I said it's a nibbling budget because it nibbles at some good things. Here's the headline from the House version last night. Now, the Senate is a kind of a, secondary consideration. They're really kind of a subordinate chamber. They do whatever the House wants it to do. So for the most part, we have unemployment taxes for businesses that have been reduced. That's a Raimondo plus. There is a little bit more of a break for retirees in their taxes, which is a plus. There's another reduction of $50 for the corporate tax, which is nibbling, and that's a plus. But I thought we had an emergency in this state, and that's the infrastructure. I thought we had a whole road and bridge calamity, and although we've got a toll program that has been pushed off into oblivion, we had some extra money coming in at the end of the year, and we've got, reportedly a semi-healthy budget opportunity for the next fiscal year, which starts in a couple of weeks. Where's the prioritization and moving the money for the emergency? Crickets. So, I get puzzled by that. By the way, the Republicans tried for relevance last night. They asked for $750,000 for a 38 Studios special investigation, and they asked for a growth in the removal of the car tax. They think they worked hard on those things. If a little bit of research and writing an amendment and arguing on the floor is called hard work, then the Republicans worked hard last night. If you think it was just a soundbite opportunity and a chance to just rattle the Democrats for political purposes, you might be closer to the truth. All right, the one thing that was a big hit last night, and we knew it was coming because we previewed it for you, is what happened with the charters. This headline right here is significant. The House okays new funding formula for charters, and they did it in a very shifty way. The urban charters all got together and wrote a letter to the General Assembly to say, hey, we want this to get done. We want this new funding formula for the charters to happen. What they didn't tell you is that the suburban charters were going to get hit, and I will tell you the General Assembly leadership, the unions, socked it to this guy, Lieutenant Governor Dan McKee, who was here talking about it the other day. He is the guy who brought you the mayoral academies and really buoyed the charter school conversation here. His mayoral academies, the people who go to school from Central Falls and Pawtucket and Lincoln and Cumberland and a whole bunch of other places, they're going to get whacked in this deal. And you know what? It's personal. It's personal. The unions made it personal. The General Assembly leadership doesn't like the lieutenant governor, acting like any kind of formidable government official. It's a message, and the governor should have stepped up and said something about it. Instead, her spokesperson said it was a great budget for education, which is complete nonsense. Alrighty, progress, pride, headlines here. This is interesting. The Journal's use of the term pure terror this week, I think, is kind of fascinating in a way. 40 years ago, it was, I guess, tough to celebrate one's homosexuality or orientation. Terms have changed. Here's a recap of what the nation is dealing with leading up into this week.
From Los Angeles to New York, thousands of gay men and women stood in solidarity at vigils and makeshift monuments. Last night, singer Lady Gaga was among the crowd.
You are not alone. You are not alone.
But gay men like Steve Scott say this tragedy is especially significant.
I know what it's like to grow up with discrimination and with people constantly
coming after you physically, emotionally, knowing that people were going through that in a club, in a place that's supposed to be a safe place for the LGBT community is really, really jarring.
In 2015, there were 24 reports of gay and transgender homicides in a sampling of 11 states. That's a 20% increase from 2014. Lori Jean is the CEO of the LGBT Center in Los Angeles.
Politicians who slander LGBT people, who say that we should be driven out of public life, that we're not fit to raise children, that we are a threat to the moral fabric of our society, that kind of rhetoric promotes the kind of violence that happened yesterday.
Jean says the hate has been perpetuated through social media with tweets and videos like this one posted by a Christian pastor in California.
I think Orlando, Florida is a little safer tonight. Now that 50, the tragedy is that more of them didn't die.
We cannot allow this fear to silence us.
So don't be afraid.
We cannot allow this fear to push us back in the closet, because then the terrorists win.
Some of that seems to be so. I don't know where we get crackpots like that. Minister.
Yeah.
What up with that, Joe?
It's very interesting.
Interesting, sad, interesting. Joe DiMaura is Mr. Gay Rhode Island 2016.
Thanks for having me.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How did you win that?
It's like any other kind of pageant. I mean, I'm kind of like, I guess, the Miss Universe of Rhode Island. That's a joke. So. But
what do you have to do to win it?
So yeah, you just go through a competition with other people that want to do better for the community. There is a private interview, there's a theme wear, there's formal wear, and a talent too. So.
All right. How many compete?
Well, this year I think we had around 20 compete, so altogether. So it was very interesting.
What do you do full time?
I work in politics full time. So.
Doing?
I work on legislation and candidate issues in Massachusetts, Southern Mass. So.
Okay. Well, look, it's a big weekend. I mean, this is a celebration weekend. It was on the calendar way before this god-awful thing happened in Orlando. So let's talk about the calendar first and what's exciting about what's coming up this weekend. I know we've got some information we can roll. There's a website and B-roll. Of course, you always check foxprovidence.com for any of the information that comes across our conversations. But it's a big weekend. Talk to me about it.
There's a lot of exciting things that are going to be happening this weekend. I think we want to focus on the positive and definitely the unity and the solidarity of our community. We have, I think, Friday nights is our huge kickoff at the Dark Lady. We're going to have a block party there. And then we have the Saturday, the festival during the day. We have performances all throughout the day. And then Saturday night is obviously the parade at 8 p.m., which leads into all the block parties around the city. So, yeah, it's going to be very exciting.
What's the meaning of it for you?
To me, I think pride is just another word for being fearless. I think we have to remember the people that came before us, like Harvey Milk, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, who have died for these issues, and for us to march in our parades and to walk around freely. We have to remember those people that came before us, I think, and also set an example and be a role model for the future too.
In the old days, you are obviously much younger than I am. In the old days, I'd have very deep conversations with leadership in the gay community about gay pride celebrations and the marketing of the message and some of the what was perceived by a lot of the straight world to be outlandish public effect PDA type of behavior and the like. And they were fascinating days and fascinating conversations, and all of it was really kind of a joint strategic conversation about how equity can actually be gained. It's a really weird time. It seems like equity's been gained. We've got gay marriage, more or less legislated in more states than not, or getting there. Yet we've got this violence rate that we talked about there, and we've got ministers, spouting off after a horrific tragedy with absolutely no compunction to do so. How do you put it all together?
I think people think that LGBT rights is over because we won marriage, but I think that's just the forefront of it. I think that in some states you can still be fired for being gay or being lesbian or transgender or bisexual, which is still outdated. I feel like and actually in many states you cannot donate blood if you're a gay or bisexual man, which is definitely prejudice and discriminating too. Because they test all the blood too, I assume. So
yeah, it's all an age-based worry. It's all,
yeah.
A lot of things linger.
Yeah.
That maybe probably 20 years ago, that was probably a practical thing to do.
I think it's just an outdated fear. I think But I think there's still a lot of work to do with our community, and I think that this is going to open up our eyes a little bit and make us more unified too.
You know, I commented on Monday and Tuesday on the radio and here on the television that identifying the gay community as a victim in the Orlando situation is obviously unavoidable. At the same time, the more we extract the gay community out of the American community, America having been attacked, the more this we got going on. You have a feeling about that?
Well, I think it's important to not forget the identity of the victims. I think I was getting a little frustrated when I saw news channels just saying nightclub, when it was actually, it's a gay nightclub. We can't take the identity away from the victims. But I think America needs to see us as Americans and as human beings, and I think that we're still kind of perceived as something different. And I would like to see more unity and our straight allies as well. I mean, I've been calling it more upon my friends, my family to speak out against bigotry and intolerance when they can. Because I think it's important that we all unify together behind this and not just the LGBT community.
Different and equal, two different words. I mean, we all have differences.
Yeah, I mean.
You have a different orientation.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I consider it to be lesser.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that.
On a positive note, what should people be thinking? What should the grander community be thinking about this weekend?
I think you'll be safe is the huge part of it. I think we have state troopers, Providence Police, and a private security team that will be covering the entire thing, and we can ensure safety for the people that go there. And it's going to be a very great and prideful weekend.
Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Have fun this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back next week, you want to get a good golf swing? You want to follow a couple of good players? It's no charge. Stay with us. All right, it doesn't. You don't have to twist my arm to have a conversation about this golf tournament. Here's the headline. Jim Donaldson, I think, got it right. I was fortunate enough to hang out with some of the fellows in the media at the amateur breakfast last week and got a chance to roll around Wannamoisett, which is just a beautiful place, bucolic in so many ways. I say some bad words sometimes though when I get in the rough, but that's kind of what it's all about, right, man? Don't get in the rough. Keep it in the fairway.
And it's short right now.
It's short. The rough is short.
Yes.
Yes.
Will you grow it daily?
Will you grow it for next week?
We are.
You'll penalize these amateurs for not hitting the fairway, correct?
Well, being landlocked at Wannamoisett, we have to toughen the course up as much as possible for these big hitters, and how we do that is by firm and fast greens and long rough.
If we could, Jesse, if you could just put up the dates for next week. There's a event on Tuesday, correct? But the actual tournament proper is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It is a 4-day event, correct?
It's 4 rounds. It's played Wednesday through Saturday. That's correct.
And it's there's no cut though, right?
There is a cut.
Oh, there
after
is a
3
cut.
rounds.
After
We
3
cut to
rounds.
50 in ties.
Okay. This championship is a worldwide amateur golf event. Explain.
So the Northeast Amateur is ranked number 10 currently in the world, and it's ranked 4th in the United States among over 700 ranked events in the world. So it is a huge national event for amateur golfers. We attract players from all over the world. We have 10 countries represented. We have 43 different colleges and universities represented. We have some great young local talent coming in, and it's going to be a very exciting week. It's the largest field we've ever had, currently at 92 contestants.
You talk about the chance for people to actually have a walking, casual look at somebody who could be on television 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, attempting to win a major championship. In fact, you housed Jordan Spieth years ago, correct?
I did.
And you said he couldn't make a putt back then.
He struggled with the greens that year. He still had a decent finish, but absolutely, you'll see the future stars of the PGA Tour usually come to the Northeast as amateurs and collegiate players, and the future of the game will be with us this coming week. You mentioned being able to see them in 3 or 4 years. You could probably see 3 of them in 3 or 4 hours. We have 3 players currently playing in the U.S. Open that'll be at the Northeast next week.
Wow.
Scotty Scheffler, Sam Burns, and Kyle Mueller. 3 very notable. Scotty was the picture that was shown on the television in Jim's article. He finished tied for 3rd in the Northeast the last 2 years. So
wow.
Excited Scotty's coming back. We also have the #1 player out of China, who's a young man named Cheng Jin. He played in the Masters a few months ago as the Asian Pacific Amateur Champion. We also have another highlight in Sean Crocker, who represents Zimbabwe. He plays for University of Southern California. He just won this past weekend the Monroe Invitational up in New York, shooting a final round 63.
Wow.
Yeah, so we got,
Not
that's
too
just
many
a headline.
not too many bogeys in that round. We're going to meet one of the players local from URI here momentarily. But the message here is this is a great traditional thing that happens at Wannamoisett right here in Rumford and East Providence. It is such a great opportunity for people to really enjoy the game on an accessible basis that you just don't get. I mean, the kind of caliber that you can watch, the kind of caliber of play that you can watch is extraordinary. Yes?
It is. It really is. I put together the contestant bios recently for the brochure that we print, and also hand that out for free to the folks that want to come join us to read the accomplishments of these players. And it's really remarkable when you take a look at it. And of the 92 guys, I mean, they're champions all over the world, and college, and the biggest amateur events you can think of. And you know, it really says a lot about the history of the Northeast Amateur, and its 55th year. Continues to go strong.
And I know you like to keep a local flavor, so while you have an international and national prominence, and by the way, you mentioned the other day, you have a percentage of the best amateurs in the world right now. How many of the best are coming to this event next week?
Yeah, we have an extremely strong field. I mean, the event rank is calculated on the day that we tee it up, so next Wednesday, but you know, we do have some of the top players in the world. Over 50 of the players in the field are in the top 200 ranked amateurs in the world.
There you go.
So, yeah, there you go.
There you go. But you keep a local flavor.
We do.
It's important.
Yeah.
Why?
Many of those in the top few hundred in the world play a national amateur schedule, and that's how they get there. But a lot of the locals don't, and we have exemptions to a lot of the local players, including Rhode Island Player of the Year, Jamie Lukowitz, the Rhode Island Amateur Champion, Kevin Silva. We have the local from URI and Billy Walthouse from Massachusetts. Very excited about Billy being here with us today, as well as some juniors. This is a big year at Wannamoisett with the Junior PGA Championship, one of the majors in junior amateur golf, coming up in August at Wannamoisett. So we've attracted some of the best junior players in the world under the age of 18, and some of the locals include Will Dixon, Patrick Welch, and Davis Chatfield. So really excited to have them on board, as well as the #1 junior player in the country, and Noah Goodwin, and I mentioned Cheng Jin, who is a junior as well.
Good stuff. So when we come back, we'll meet one of our URI entries into the field, see how confident he is about shaking this baby up. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, so Ben Tuthill, who is the chair of the Northeast Amateur, stays with us, and we introduce you to Billy Walthouse, who's a Western Mass guy, back where I used to hang out, hangs out at the Long Meadow Country Club, graduate of Long Meadow High School, URI grad, to be in a year, junior, going to senior. Yeah. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How far you hit it off the tee?
I'm not the longest hit off the tee. I'm probably like 280, 285 off the tee, but
that's actually modest, you know, but I like guys like this. You know, short game, managing the golf course, all those things, not just bombing it to kingdom come, right?
Right. I mean, I wish I had a little more distance, but what keeps me in is I'm straighter than average, I would say.
Which will help him at your golf course, correct?
Absolutely.
He's playing it for the first time. Now we taped this tonight, this afternoon. We taped it this afternoon. You're seeing it now. Between now and that time, you're going to go out and play. What's your advice on managing Wannamoisett?
Well, Billy's going to see Wannamoisett for the first time, and there are certainly some intricacies in the Donald Ross gem. As you know, Dan, after last week's experience, and certainly hitting the fairways is a great start. You can't survive Wannamoisett without hitting it in the fairway, that's for sure, and then hitting it on the greens, and you know, in the center of the green is a good place to be. Which is kind of the thing for just every golf course everywhere, but only golfers know the difference between, real penalty and not so bad, and it's a real penalty. And the U.S. Open's a real penalty, and it will be at Wannamoisett, which I think makes it fun for people to kind of watch to see how you manage the golf course and how you get after it. Tell me about your experience at URI.
So far, it's a
great golf program.
Awesome.
People that don't pay enough attention, I think. I mean, it really is a terrific golf program.
Yeah, there's a long list of guys that have come from URI that have done special things. Just this past week, I think there was 11 former or current players represented at the Massachusetts Open. It just, I think you said that correctly. It isn't seen as good as a program as it actually is.
Well, I think URI, other than the basketball program, I think URI is such a jewel academically. I don't think people identify enough with what the URI program is like academically. I mean, everybody knows, but they don't necessarily grasp how much achievement happens down there in Kingston every single day, and it just kind of filters down. But most people know most people who play golf know how good the URI program is, and it's a terrific thing. You're majoring in business, correct?
Yes, correct.
Having a great golf game is always an asset in business, no doubt.
Yep.
What's your approach to the amateur this week? Are you intimidated by this field, or is this something that you think you can make some noise in?
I'm definitely excited. I'm very happy that I was given the invitation.
Not easy to get.
No, not at all.
Right.
Yep. I was very happy when I got it this year. I'm just gonna, after a couple practice rounds, really figure out the golf course, figure out a game plan, and then stick to my game plan. I have a teammate who's former teammate who's caddying for me, Joe Levitt. He played in the tournament the past couple of years. So I think if we stick to our game plan out there, I can hopefully see some results.
What's your mission in golf? What's your goal?
My goal? I'd like to play as long as I can. That's what I'd like to do.
As an amateur? Or do you have other ambitions?
I have other ambitions. I just don't know the timing yet.
It's hard, isn't it, Ben? It's hard. I mean, you've had such excellence as an amateur player as well. I mean, you've mixed with so many guys who are on that cusp. It's very hard to determine who's going to end up making it on the pro level, right?
Billy and I were talking about that earlier today. Yeah, it's a very competitive.
They're so good.
They're so good, and he is
so
too. Don't forget, Billy won 3 events this year with, the competition being up there as well. I mean, he's not playing against a handful of the guys that he's been playing against all year will also be in the field. So, he's certainly ready, and his game is there.
Done that. You know how to win is the point.
Absolutely.
And so you're coming here next week wanting to win, not just hanging around thinking it was a good day, a good week.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
But there's such a fine line in this game between those who make it and those who don't. Some say it comes down to putting. It's probably more than that, right? It's not just putting. It's what?
I'd definitely say that there's a lot of patience that has to be involved with that too. Staying patient out there.
You ever shrink? I mean, I need one when I play. Do you have one?
What do you
Sports
mean?
psychologist?
Oh, I actually do.
Yeah. You need one.
This past summer, I worked with Brian Lomax, and that's been very helpful towards my game.
All right, well, listen, I'll be following you out there next week. Ben, congratulations on another great year coming up. And come to Wannamoisett. You're invited to walk and watch these great players chase that little white ball around. Good luck to you next
Thank
week.
you. Thank you very much.
Final word when we come back. Stu.
Thank you, Dan.
You bet. I think I threw young Billy over the shrink question. The point of the matter is that once you learn how to hit the golf ball, and a lot of people do, it's all between here. And if I could figure this out, in a lot of ways, we'd all be better off. I know I'd be better off on the golf course. Make sure you go to the Northeast Am next week and enjoy the Gay Pride celebrations this weekend. See you on the radio tomorrow at 3 o'clock on WPRO.